Hi gang, my name's Donnie. I have been given Bryce as Brother Wilson's child to teach a lesson to. My 10 ideas for teaching Bryce would be, first, to make an industrial assembly line. Second, having a Greek Olympic Games. Number 3, creating a Greek fighting phalanx. Number 4, playing games such as Red Rover, and Human Pyramid. Number 5, learning to trade like the Indians. Number 6, mapping like the explorers. Number 7, being part of a marching band. Number 8, puzzle solving. Number 9, building a fire. And number 10, a lesson on canoeing. And the 10th and final lesson is the one I'd like to expound upon today. The gist of the lesson would be to go rent a canoe from ORC and to go canoeing on a length of the Snake River. The objective of that lesson would be to learn how to steer a canoe and how to row correctly so that you don't get too tired and you go in the direction that you want to. The skills that would be required for achieving that objective would be to learn how to hold the oar correctly, learning various types or various strokes with the oar, learning how to switch sides when your arm gets tired, and learning how to steer, as well as getting into rhythm with other members of the canoe if you're not all by yourself. So the principles behind this lesson are many, or at least I recognized many of them. The first in my mind is what we learned in Why Gender Matters, is that boys, or men in general, are stimulated by movement. Due to the biological makeup of their eye, they have more rods than cones, and rods detect movement. So that's why boys love playing with cars and trains and planes, things that move, because it's stimulating to them. We also know that boys love to take risks. They get sort of a high off of that. And there'll be plenty of a risk out on a canoe, because if you flip over, or tons of things can happen that are exciting for a boy. That might be an overgeneralization, but I think it's an accurate one, that boys are stimulated by movement and risk. The other principle that I have there is, and that was really big for me in planning this, is I wanted to create something that was situationally interesting to Bryce. And like I said, I'm a male. I think I understand males pretty well. That men love the outdoors, and since we want Bryce to be a little man, like you said, we want him to love that, and I think boys already love that. So a place where we can have a lesson outdoors is great, and like I said before, it's a kind of a manly event. I think that'd be exciting for a younger guy to want to be more like his dad, you know, or to be like any man in general. So we have to consider one of the principles about this lesson is the psychomotor domain. We know that Bryce is old enough to be able to run around, throw a ball. His movement's pretty there, you know. So I think that learning how to stroke with a canoe oar won't be too difficult. I think that'll be right in his zone of proximal development, to be honest. Now, I know there's different kind of strokes that will be more difficult than others, and that's why it's important to have the proper sequencing. We'll go from just a regular stroke to fly strokes, and then probably towards the end, J strokes, so you learn how to steer, how to turn a certain way, even though your oar's on the same side. So like I said, to make sure that it's in the zone of proximal development, there'll have to be the right amount of scaffolding and the right sequencing in order to do so. Another aspect of this lesson is that there's going to be anxiety. We'll be in a situation or a place where he's probably never been before, you know, on a boat, on a river. That can be really exciting. For other people, it can be really scary. And so in order to keep the anxiety from becoming debilitating and turning it into facilitating anxiety, like I said before, I have to have the right scaffolding. I have to provide a lot of positive reinforcement. I have to be able to, when I'm showing him the strokes so he can master it and feel confident, I might have to actually take his hand with it and teach him how to do it, besides just showing him an example of how to do it, which I think he'll be easier to do. He'll be eager to do, excuse me. We also have to take into consideration during this lesson something that we learned about brain rules. The first one being that exercise stimulates learning, and there's going to be a lot of exercise in this lesson. Hopefully not too much, which we'll try to control that as well. But once his body's moving, his brain's going to be moving just as fast. So I think he'll be able to internalize or assimilate rather than accommodate the knowledge that he'll be internalizing. In order to expand also his cognitive domain, we'll be speaking a little bit about Lewis and Clark, because the guys who explored this area, they did a little bit of canoeing, and I want him to know that and realize that it's a part of our American psyche. It's important. Right now we're also going through Erickson's stages of social development, and Bryce fits in the category of industry versus inferiority, which includes finishing a task, learning that you need to work before you play, and that it's important to feel industrious and to see the fruits of your labors rather than just failing again and again and again and internalizing that failure to feel inferior rather than what we would call being an agent and being able to act and not be acted upon. So in this lesson there's going to be a lot of social development. One of the important aspects of canoeing when you have more than one person in the canoe is that you're rowing at the same pace. There's a rhythm that has to be established so that you go faster and that you move efficiently across the water. Once he learns that, you can internalize that aspect into societies that we can work together to do good and important things. Also at times, due to fatigue and also switching of positions in the canoe, sometimes you'll have to be rowing for everybody else. There's other times they'll be rowing for you. So we have to realize that, like I said before, we're all in this together, literally in a canoe, and we have to work for each other. And other times people have to work for us, and we have to understand those relationships. Overall, just the positive instance of this lesson from what I want for Bryce is that he's out in the canoe, he learns some strokes, and that he has fun, and that he's not afraid of doing stuff like that. So I realize there's some problems with this lesson. First of all, I'm worried just about the sensory register overload. There's going to be so much going on. He already seems kind of a pretty active, some would classify hyper child, and since there's so much stimulus from the environment as well as what I'm trying to teach him, I think it might be too much, then he might not be able to learn it. I'm also worried about learned helplessness. That would be the non-instance of this activity, is that he wouldn't be able to learn the strokes and that he would just feel bad about it and not ever want to get in a canoe again. I'm worried about that. But like I said, that should be solved by the scaffolding and by the sequencing of the strokes. I don't want to make it too hard too quickly for him. And I'm going to provide all sorts of encouragement. We'll make it fun and exciting. I'm also worried about his individual physical state, because that's something that's beyond my control. He's going to come to me. Maybe he's been fighting with his siblings all day. Maybe I don't know, maybe he didn't have a good breakfast, or I don't know, there's just tons of different factors. He might be sick. I don't really know. That's out of my hands. I just have to judge that as it comes. I also have to be aware of his affective domain, because to be honest, he might be terrified of water. I don't even know if he likes to swim or if he even can swim. And those are factors that I'll have to consider as well when we're doing the lesson. Also, something else is weather conditions. I understand there could be a flood warning, or it could be too hot or too cold to go out canoeing. So my backup plan would just be go to the Hart building. I work there. Might be able to pull some strings and get a canoe in there, and we can teach him the lesson there. Another logistical problem is being able to videotape or record the lesson on video, and I just had to get my hands on someone who had I think it's called a Video Pro or a GoPro. They just kind of put the camera on the helmet, and we can record it that way. So that's my lesson with Bryce. I hope you enjoy, and I'm eager to learn or to hear from your feedback. Thank you for your time.